Hello. I've been saying you gotta put your money where your mouth is, right? You gotta talk about the things you love. Well, I just got done reading Airframe, a novel by Michael Crichton. It's from 1997. I'd never even heard of it until I saw it in Goodwill, where I bought it for, is that a dollar, $1.99? $1.99. And you know what? I definitely got a $1.99 worth of enjoyment out of this thing. I couldn't put it down. So let's kind of recap the plot a little bit. Airframe is a story about a woman named Casey Singleton. She's the vice president of quality assurance for an airplane manufacturer, Norton Aircraft. And there's an accident, and that accident, flight from a foreign airline, is coming into L.A. and it experiences they call it porpoising in the book. So it's going up and then down and up and down, and it's severe enough that like 50 people get hurt. The interior of the plane is a wreck. 3 people are dead. The pilot talking to ground control gives weird answers. All kinds of stuff like that. That's the setup. Let's flip over here to Wikipedia for a second. And what I liked about this book, number one, I enjoy Michael Crichton novels. I've read like 7 or 8 of them. I've read, well, obviously Jurassic Park, Lost World, which is a way better book than a movie, by the way. Sphere, which I really enjoyed. And I also really liked the movie, too. Samuel L. Jackson. Actually, the whole cast is like great. Him and Dustin Hoffman, like, I lost track of my train of thought there. Oh, yeah. I've read Dragon Teeth. I've read, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of his books. And I've seen several of the movies. There's no movie of this one, which seems really weird to me because it seems like it'd be a really cheap movie to film, except for the scenes set in, like, the big hangar, the factory floor. Everything looks like it'd be really cheap to film. I digress. So the story of this is plane is having a bad day, people die, and the manufacturer puts Casey Singleton, the QA VP, in charge of the review panel, the investigation team that's looking into what happened. She also gets put in charge of being like the press liaison. Also, other characters in this kind of spinning off from that. Like that idea, that's the central part. And she's trying to navigate her way through that investigation, through corporate politics and all these other things. There is corporate politics. The guy that's her direct boss, Mr. Martin or Martyr, I forget which it is, he is related to the family that owns the airline. He married into it. Casey Singleton gets a new assistant who is like a nephew in the family. The person who is the president of the company is not related to the family. And so, how does all that stuff fit in? Like, what are their motives? That kind of thing. What about that new guy? Is he just useless? Is he doing something important? How does he fit in? I don't know. There's the pilot has a plot arc too. He's a decorated pilot. You know, he's been flying planes for like 20 years. He comes from a family of pilots. So his weirdness has a story arc. His apparent shock at what's happening has a story arc. The press gets involved. There's a lawyer suing them. The press gets involved with that kind of stuff. There's another plane from the same model, but different operator. It has, I think they call it a rotor burst, basically like the engine blades got thrown into the housing of the engine, and so the engine caught on fire. What else? Gosh, there were so many little things getting spun out. Oh, Casey Singleton is a single mother. She got divorced from her husband, so the whole story is kind of framed in the span of a week. The first day, she sees her daughter off to go stay with her husband. On the second day, her daughter, or at the end of the week, her daughter comes back. At the conclusion of the story, and her being a parent kind of drives a lot of the stuff that happens. Her being single drives some of it. Like that stuff all factors into it. Casey Singleton feels very much like a real person. But the meat of the story, the absolute meat of the story, is the deep understanding that Michael Crichton shows about these topics. I admit I'm not an airline person. Like I don't understand a lot of the acronyms and stuff. but I do understand bureaucracy a little bit. So when they start talking about the FAA and the way it handles bureaucracy, they talk about the European JAA, which is a plot point too. Like all those things factor in, and it feels very real. The paperwork feels real. The procedures, the processes they're following feel real. The technical details. They start talking about. There's one part of the book where they've got like a recording of what's happened, and so they engage a guy to clean it up. And the kind of stuff he's doing sounds like the kind of stuff you would do if you were trying to clean up a lot of noise to get to some barely audible signal in like a film recording. The press is like comes in from like a news magazine. There's like a local reporter and a television news magazine. The news magazine people are real slimy, which kind of feels right to me. I don't know. Whereas the newspaper reporter seems kind of like an old school guy. You know, he's been on the beat for decades. He's just like hammering out the stories, trying to get the truth across as best he can. And so all these plot threads, corporate espionage, conspiracy, labor troubles, they're trying to make a big sale to China. And the union is upset about that because they're afraid they're going to, outsource a bunch of the manufacturing to China instead of keeping it in house. Our hero comes under like physical threat a couple of times. So there's thrills, there's espionage, there's a deep investigation. The only thing I can really knock the book for, and it was kind of why I did the little and paused what I was thinking there, because I was thinking, is like a lot of detective stories, the key point is kind of hidden from you until there's a dramatic reveal by the main character. Now, there are hints and clues along the way for what actually was going on, and you probably, if you're real clever and you read things real close, could probably have figured it out, but the proof, the big smoking gun, well, proverbial smoking gun, is kind of withheld from you. You don't have a complete knowledge of what the main character is doing, what Casey Singleton's up to. And in that regard, it's kind of like, I really wish I knew a little bit more. That way I could have raced her to the conclusion. Having said that, everything gets wrapped up at the end and it's beautiful and fun. Things come together nicely in a way that fiction can and reality very rarely is. And then the whole thing, the ending of it, I don't know if you've ever read a Michael Crichton thing, but he like puts in fake documents into his stories. Let me find one. Like, there you go, weather data. Like he'll format like fake documents, so the actual like after the plot's resolved, the epilogue is actually a bunch of short little news briefs to catch you up on what the different characters have been up to. And I thought that was a lot of fun. Anyway, put my money where my mouth is. We don't talk about books on this channel. We talk about comic books. But I just read a book, and I've been telling people, you got to talk about what you like. I liked it, so I'm talking about it. You all take care of yourselves. You have a great day, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.